What if I told you you could know if a marketing campaign is going to be successful before it's even launched? No, this isn't down to the ads, this isn't down to the content or the product. This is down to the plan. And in this video, I'm going to take you through exactly what you need to do to plan a successful marketing campaign. So we're going to go into another slide deck this time. So Sunday, so it's going to be a slightly longer form video. So yeah, here we go. So the first thing is kind of like, why do I need a plan? Well, this is actually the area most people get wrong. So they'll spend loads of money on ads, they'll post, and they'll be trying things on social media, but there's no structure to it, which means that the results just don't come. When you have a plan, it's difficult to go wrong, and if you do go wrong, you can tell exactly where and then fill those gaps. And the best part is it's completely free. It costs nothing, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to do, and what you'll find is it'll probably save you from wasting thousands of money on ad spend down the line. The very first thing you need to look at is defining a goal, and to do this you basically just go, what's the result we want? Let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say you're going on holiday and you want to go to France. Now you know you want to go to France, you can now plan how to get there. But there are lots of different ways of getting there. You can get the ferry, you can get the tunnel, you can drive, you can fly. So once you know where you're going, then you can plan the journey. And this is exactly the same thing. So you need to get your end goal so that you know, okay, I've got a business, we're launching a product and we want to sell it out. Okay, great. You know what you want to do. Now you can make your plan to get there. So the first thing is have SMART goals. So you've all heard of SMART goals before, but it's really, really important. I think especially the first point, which is get specific. The more specific you can be, the easier your job will be down the line. It ties into most of the points that I'm going to go through on this video, but if you're not being specific enough, you're going to really, really struggle to hone in your campaign and it perform as well as possible. The second point, measurable. You need to be able to measure this goal. It's no good being like, oh, okay, we want to be the best brand in the world. Okay, well, what does that mean? Do you want to have the most sales? Do you want the best quality product? How are you going to measure what that result is if it's not a clear goal? Is it achievable? So again, if you're just starting out, you're in your first year, you might be like, oh, I want to do 10 million in sales. It's like, okay, chances are that's probably not going to happen. So you've got to think, okay, well, what goals can we actually get? Can we create our first product run and then deliver and sell it all out? Yes, absolutely. Can you compete with Nike in your first year as a clothing brand? No, it's just not going to happen because you won't have the resources, the budget, and that's what you need to take into account in your goal setting. So the R is it relevant? There's no point setting goals that aren't relevant to your actual business. So I think there are lots of different things that you can try and do as a business, and it's exciting to be like what sort of avenues you can explore. But what you need to do is pick a goal that's specific and relevant to your core business function, and that will be make it as easy as possible for you to kind of build into your niche and get a core customer base. And the last point is time bound. So can you measure in time how long this goal is going to take you? Because for you to have a goal, there's no point if you say, oh, you want to be the biggest company in the world. Okay, well, 100 years time, yeah, maybe you can. But when you're setting an end goal for a marketing campaign, you kind of need to be like, well, actually, we need to deliver something in 6 months. We need to deliver something in a year. We need to deliver something in 1 month. So you need that time bound for your goal so that then when you're working towards it, you can achieve it. So the next point, understand who your audience is. And this kind of falls into 3 categories. So who are your audience? So this is your age, your gender, the location of the person you're selling to. So it's kind of like when you're targeting someone, these are the metrics that you target them on. So let's say you're a running company and you're looking at 25 to 35 year olds in London, both male and female. And then once you've got that, you kind of know who you're selling to. And then once you have who they are, you can look at the next question, which is what do they care about? So here, you've got to understand what the goals are, what are their values, and what are their pain points. So this helps you understand and speak directly to your core customer base. And then the next point is how are they behaving? Where do they spend their time and money? So you know who they are and you know what to tell them. Now you need to know where to find them and how to make them buy your product. And another tip here, going back to the specific point from the last slide, the more detail you can go into, the easier it will be, because you can get more personalized messaging to the person. You'll be able to find exactly who they are by tuning in your targeting, and you'll be able to figure out exactly where to find them. So really, really go into as much detail as possible here, because that will give you the best chance of having a successful marketing campaign. Then you want to craft your offer. This is such an important one, because you can have the best ads team in the world, you can have the best targeting, you can have the best funnels, landing pages, the ads look amazing, they're perfect, but what you're actually offering is just not what people want to buy, and that will mean that your whole campaign is irrelevant if your messaging for your offer isn't good. You can have everything else perfect and you will fail consistently unless you really dial your offer in. So good news, we've got a 3-step sequence in order to craft the perfect offer. Really, really simple. So if you're struggling with finding a good offer, here's where you start. Solve one problem. That's all you need to do. You don't need to change the world or change the industry you're in or try and do everything at once. Or if you do a lot of things, forget about a lot of them. Think about the one main thing you can solve, and then that is what you want to go in on. So if you're a marketing agency, you don't want to say, oh, well, we'll do a full marketing service. You'll say, we specifically generate leads for X type of business. And there you go. You've changed it from, oh, we'll do some, like, run some ads and give you some nice creatives and stuff, to, okay, we're going to build your leads for your business so that then you can grow it when we give you marketing services. So the next thing you need to do, once you know the problem you're going to solve, is add something that's irresistible. So this kind of creates that urgency to buy. So this is kind of, they'll see the offer and think, wow, and then it's like, oh, okay, I need to buy it. So if it's a time constrained offer, it's a good one, or a bonus, so like a welcome bonus, or if a referral bonus, sort of bringing people in, or a guarantee. You'll be like, well, if we do this for you and we don't give you results, you won't pay a thing, or you don't like it, send it back. Because then it's like, well, why are you waiting? You've got to buy it now. And then the last one, again, the most important one, make it one sentence. There's no point in writing a whole paragraph and then putting it on an ad, because no one's going to read that. You need them to read one sentence to be like, that is speaking to me, solves a problem I have, and I want to buy it right now. So again, we're going to give you another tip. So if you're struggling, kind of like, oh, okay, well, I don't really know what problem to solve or how to pitch it, think about, okay, you know who your audience is from the last step. So what do they want? And then when you know what they want, think, okay, well, how can I do this better than anyone else? Can I do it quicker? Can I do it faster? Can I do it cheaper? Can I do it with a higher standard? And then once you've got that, you've kind of got the fundamentals to start an offer going. Right, so the next thing you're going to do, now you've got your perfect offer, is pick your channels. So on my previous video, I talked about the 4 channels which you have at your disposal, and they are cold outbound, warm outbound, advertising, and free content. So you've got these, and what you need to do is figure out what levers are the best ones for you to pull. And to do this, you need to go, okay, what resources do I have? If you don't have a lot of money, pumping a lot of money into ads is obviously not going to be an option. If you are a one-man team, then you'll possibly be limited to the amount of things you can do. So you need to be quite strategic in terms of what you're picking and which ones you use together. You may have contacts who are ideal customers or no ideal customers. So use those, leverage those, build those into your plan, because that is a way to reach your goal. And then what existing assets do you have? So do you have anything already that you can use in order to achieve your goal? But yeah, so basically you need to figure out what your strengths are and where the audience is, and find the best way of putting this together. And unfortunately, I can't sit here and say, oh, well, you need to do cold outbound and advertising and just that for this type of campaign. You kind of need to look at this with a bit of context and go, oh, okay, well, I don't have any budget, so I can put out free content and build trust with people, and then use warm outbounds from the leads that come in from my free content, because you don't have the budget or time to kind of be pumping out the cold outbound or the advertising. And then that can be your start to your first campaign. And then when you go into your next campaign, you can go, oh, okay, well, now we've got some budget to put it behind some advertising, and we've got some assets from the previous campaign that we can reuse and then go into the next campaign. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing more about what the channels are and how to use them, I'd thoroughly recommend going and looking at the last video I have on this topic, and that will just go into a bit more detail onto what the channels are, how to use them effectively. So defining campaign assets. So I talked about this just now, and I'm basically going to explain what campaign assets are. So it's kind of the weapons that you have in order to kind of deliver the sales blows in this campaign. So it's your ammunition. So you're going to start with ad creatives. So these are a fantastic way to kind of get that pull in, the visual pull, and you can use these across your social platforms when you're running ads. Landing pages and funnels. So these are also tools that you build. So if I build out the perfect landing page, which someone will get once they click through an ad or click through the website, and then they're on a page, and that page is designed for you to buy when you get to the end of it. And it's an art to crafting a landing page which people will buy on. So if that's something that people are interested in, I can cover that in another video. Email sequencing. So this is your initial email and your follow-up sequences in order to nurture leads. So that, again, this is something that you can plan and have at your disposal before you launch your campaign. So you know every email that goes out, 3 days later there'll be a follow-up, and 3 days after that there'll be another follow-up if they haven't made a purchase. And when you've got that, you know that you can almost automate it. You don't need to think, oh, I need to write all these emails and think about everything individually. You can think of blocks in terms of, oh, okay, we'll do a big block of the first sequence, then the second sequence, then the third sequence, and you've made your life a whole lot easier for yourself. Organic social media posts and the content you have to put on that. So this is the building trust. And these are different to ads, because this is where you're kind of building your brand, you're speaking to your audience, and you're engaging with them organically. And then the last one I've put is in person. So in person is one that is actually probably very, very effective these days, and you won't hear a lot of advice about it online. A lot of people will say social media ads are kind of the best way to go, and that's what you need to focus all your time on. But you can do some really, really effective in-person campaigns, and you need to think, oh, okay, well, am I in the location of where the people I'm selling to are? And if yes, then okay, well, get creative. What can you do in the area in order to promote what you're selling? So we're just going to move on to some quick bonus tips. And the first one is quality over quantity. One good ad will always outperform 5 average ones. Always. Because it will just perform better, it will convert more, and it will be cheaper to run in the long term because it's a more engaging ad. Make sure what you're doing is prioritizing quality over quantity before you start your campaign, because you might have 30 different ads that you want to try and you get really excited, but if they're all just okay, they're never going to stand out in a world where attention is the main currency. Keep it consistent across every channel. So this is about posting regularly. So if you've got a posting schedule, make sure you stick to it. If you're posting on the weekends, if you're posting midweek, Monday mornings, make sure you are consistent across every channel that you're planning on marketing on. And this needs to be the same with brand messaging. You need to be found on every platform, and the brand is consistent across all of them. So if people stumble across your multiple platforms, they understand the brand, or if people come in from different places, they know the brand and they feel spoken to. And then the last one that I'm just gonna mention here is simplicity, because if it's hard to understand and it's hard to buy, it probably won't work. So on your landing pages, you need to make as few clicks as possible between clicking on the landing page and buying your product. You need to make it as easy to read as possible on your ads so that they go straight through and they can see the offer in plain English in the first sentence and then move on and be like, yep, that's something I want to buy. So keep it simple. So the next thing we're going to look at is timeline. So here, you want to break down your goal. So you've got your big end goal, and now you're like, okay, how am I going to use the time in between now and where I want to be in 3 months' time, in a year's time, in 6 months' time, whenever your end goal is. So I'm going to give you an example of how you would do this, because it's kind of different depending on what you're doing, and I could probably talk about this for hours, but I'm not. So I'm just going to give you an example of what it's like, say, launching a product. So you've got your pre-launch. So here, the micro goal is to warm up your audience and let them know something's coming. So organic is a great channel to kind of use at this point, because you can build up and warm and engage with your target audience before you're selling anything. So it's all kind of, maybe you're giving a sneak preview and you're getting people excited and interested in your product, so that when you come to the next step, which is launch, they're ready to buy. They've had all the pre-engagement, they know what it is, they know what you do, they know what you're about, and they know you deliver a product or service that's aimed at them. So now you've launched, you just need to let as many people in that audience know as possible. We're open for business, we're selling. So ideally, if you've done the pre-launch well, this is when you'll start to get people converting straight away. Okay, so now you've launched and you've got a few people coming in, but there are a lot of people seeing it and not buying. So you want to nurture that part of your audience. So how do you do that? So retargeting. So a lot of your audience would have seen the first ads and they'd have seen other things to do with your product. So now you need to show them similar things, but a different angle on it. So not all your ads at the start of your campaign will be the same as the end of your campaign, because you'll be targeting the same audience. Like imagine it's a physical audience and you're in, say, a classroom, and someone comes in and shows you an advert at the start of term. Some people buy it, some people don't. And then they come in 6 weeks down the line and like, oh, look, we'll do the same advert. Like, it's not going to work, because the people that haven't bought it, seen it before, didn't buy it. And the people that were influenced by it bought. So they're kind of, well, I mean, it depends what your product or service is and whether you're looking for like that rebuy. But you kind of need to move on to avoid that brand fatigue. So you need to retarget your ads. And then another thing is show testimonials. Like, you've got people in their audience, their peers have bought, used and enjoyed whatever you've sold. So let people know, make them feel like they're missing out, and just really try and engage with all the people that have seen you in the launch and seen you in the pre-launch that are like maybe on the fence or they're not quite convinced yet, and let them know, convince them. And then the last bit, towards the end of your campaign, you need to close them. So if there's anybody else, any stragglers that haven't bought yet, you need to convince them this is the time to buy. So a few ways of doing this are pushing scarcity, like we've only got 10 left, you buy now or you'll miss out forever. It's a great way to do it. Or a countdown, like the sale ends in 10 days. So if you don't buy, then you won't get the discount. Or reminder, because they might have just been like busy at the time and you get back to it and they think, oh, well, I was going to buy that, but I had too much on my plate and you've just reminded me again, it exists. Okay, great, I'm going to buy it. So yeah, that's kind of an example of how to break your goal down into smaller, manageable chunks, which have different kind of micro goals to them. So I'm going to give you some bonus tips. Create a content calendar. This keeps you consistent and accountable. And it also just gives you that structure that you can rely on. All that from the start. You can set this out at day one and have it all the way through to the last day. I've got a 5-minute video on this where I kind of explain how to create a content calendar. So if you want to check that out, I'd go ahead and do that. Plan around real world events and make them tie in with different brand events if you can. So think about public holidays, Christmas, New Year, paydays, things that happen to everyone in the real world, and tie them into your brand so you can kind of bring in like your Black Friday sales or whatever, and kind of just show that you're being aware of what's happening. And bonus points is if it's something that's a real world event specific to people that are in your audience. So if you're a running company, then marathons is a great one, and you kind of can run promotions in line with marathons, and then your audience are feeling like they're being seen by the companies that are trying to sell to them. And then just the last one is just look at what other companies are doing, because there are a lot of companies out there that do marketing really, really well, and just take as much inspiration as you can. So who's doing the good stuff? And just watch. What can you take? What will work for you? What won't work for you? Like another good way of looking at it is if you imagine a film release and think of the build-up. So they'll do a press tour and they'll release trailers and they'll get people excited, and then the film will go into the cinema, and then the people will go, and then they'll be like, oh, this was rated 5-star review by all these people, and you'll see stuff online and you're like, wow, okay, maybe I should go and see this if I wasn't convinced to do it by all the pre-launch stuff. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh, well, in 2 weeks' time, we're not going to be in the cinemas anymore, and you've got to wait a year until you see it on Netflix. So then you're like, oh, well, if I want to see it now, don't miss out, then I'll go to the cinema now. So yeah, so I think you can apply it to kind of everything. You've just got to think and go, okay, where does this fit in with other brands I see sort of around the world, and who's doing it well, and maybe who isn't, because you can learn some lessons from that as well. So the last point we're going to come on to is tracking and optimizing. So here you're building your feedback loops. So you've built a plan and you've got to execute it. But the thing is, once you've built your plan, that's not set in stone. And what do I mean by this? I think a marketing plan, you've got to see it as like a living and breathing thing, because people change. Your audience are alive. You're alive. What's happening in the real world changes. So a really good marketing plan doesn't just plan it on day one and do everything as they plan through to month 6. They take advantage of trends and things that are happening in the real world. But the core structure you have gives you the ability to be able to plan off that. So if you've got a strong content calendar, for example, and you've got an idea bank, then you can go, oh, well, you know what, something's trending at the moment, so I'm going to sub something in there and move that post into an idea bank. And by doing that, you are keeping all your ideas together, and you can use them when they're going to be most effective in your campaign. So you don't know what's going to work best when, but when you find out, you've really got to go in on it. Then the next thing you want to do, review your data. So you need to find out, where are you losing sales, what's working. So if you're tracking people through using a metapixel on ads, you need to go, oh, okay, well, a load of people are clicking through, but they get to the landing page and they're not buying anything. So that probably means your landing page sucks. So you need to do something about that. You need to look and think, okay, so how can I make this better? What can I do Can I test things to see what works and what doesn't? And you can kind of figure out where you're losing sales within the kind of the funnel. And then when you know what doesn't work, get rid of it. Don't hang on, hope it might change. Just get rid of it. If you've given it a fair go, you've put enough budget or enough people have seen it, it's just not working, don't get caught up on it. You might have put loads of time into it, you might have the real emotional connection, but just bin it off. Trust me, it's the best thing to do. And then when you find what does work, double down on it. If you've got one ad that's performing 5 times better than the other ones, put more budget into it, because you're losing money on the ones that you're not putting into that. But the second it stops performing and something else is overperforming, then you move the budget into that. So you're kind of listening to your customers as you go, because the worst thing you can do is just get into your head of, oh, I know I'm right and I'm just going to deliver what I know. You need to be able to think, oh, okay, well, I need to see what happens and respond to the environment that I'm in. So I'm going to leave you some bonus tips. So A/B testing. This is a really, really good and simple way of trying out what works. So you'll have two different things. So you might be trying different bits of ad creative and ad copy, or you might be trying different email opening lines or email subject headers. You can try anything. And like anything you can think of that you can do slightly differently, you can test and you should test. But what you need to do is make sure you give it a fair test, so you have sort of similar sample sizes, similar budget, and see what results work best. Because then if you test from the start to the end, you'll start evolving ads that don't just work better for you, but work better than everyone else that you're selling against. And then review your data weekly. If you're not checking in on how your data is affecting what the campaign is, and you're not making decisions based on what's actually happening, then you really need to readjust how your marketing campaign is going. So what I'd recommend is just having a weekly check-in. Look at all the data you've got and see, oh, okay, well, what's working, what isn't, and make decisions there and then. You go, oh, okay, well, these tests failed, these ones did well, so we'll put more budget into that. Or the landing page isn't working, so we need to make some changes here. So look at the data and then make decisions off it, because there's no point having data if you're not going to do anything about it. And then just learn a few stats that really matter. So I've got a few here. So ROAS, which return on ad spend. So that's for every pound you spend, how much you're getting back. Cost per click is how much does it cost in terms of ad spend for you to click on it. So I can explain how paid ads work in a future video, but basically you're kind of bidding against a lot of other ads. So the cheaper you get it, the more people see it for less pounds, because for example on Meta they reward good quality ads that people engage with, which means that your spend goes further. So £10 on ads and £10 on ads are not equal if one ad set has great engagement and one doesn't. That one with good engagement will see far more people and get far better results. So CPC is basically like how good are you actually doing what you're talking about. And then CPM is cost per milli, which is kind of your cost per impressions on 1,000 people. So it's kind of similar to CPC in terms of that's your cost per click, and this is your cost per engagement. So how much are you paying for people to see your ads? And again, the lower this is, the better it is for your business. Right, so there you have it. You don't need a big budget, you don't need a huge team, and you don't need to wait until the right time or your product's perfect. You just need a plan. And if you can nail down the plan and the points I've gone through today, then you'll really give yourself your best opportunity for success. So there you go. I've given it to you. Go and use it. And if you want to hear more strategies like this around marketing, hit the subscribe button. And if there's anything that I've talked about in this video that you want to hear more about or ask me about, let me know in the comments and I'll respond to you or make a video on that topic. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.